Hello everyone, and welcome to our second video on conditional statements. In this video we'll be covering the elif statement and how to use it in combination with if statements and if-else statements. We will also be covering and or logical operators, so that way you can check multiple conditions at the same time. So let's get started. So let's say I have a variable called value, and the contents of this variable will be 15. Now, let's say some stuff happens here. I won't know exactly. I'll just say stuff. And things may happen to value, things may not happen to value. So I will use an if statement to check if value is equal to 65. And if it is, I will print mission failed. Okay, but there's another possibility that value could be, and I want to check, well, if it's not 65, it might be another value, right? I don't want to have it as an else statement because I need to check another specific case. So not only should I check if value is 65, but there's another, if it's not 65, I want to check another specific case. And this type of problem can be solved by using the elif statement. So for those who know C and C++, this is analogous to using the else if statement. So I'll write that out as a comment. I'll say elif is equal to else if. Right? It's a little bit more human friendly in my opinion. So let's use the statement. I'll say elif value is equal to 15. I'll say mission successful. Ooh, let me zoom in. Mission successful. So if value is equal to 65, mission's failed. However, if this is not true, we're going to check if value is equal to 15, then mission successful. If it's neither of these two, I want to do nothing. Okay, so let's run this code. Mission successful. What happens if we change this to 65? Mission failed. So what happens if it's just 5? So it's neither of these cases. Nothing happens. Right, so you use the elif statement to check a secondary case if the first one fails. And typically the secondary case is specific, not general. You will use the else statement if it's general, which actually brings me to the next mini topic to talk about. Right, we have seen if, the if statement just by itself. We have also seen if and else used together as a pair. We have just seen if and elif used together. But what about using if, elif, and else? Is that valid? The answer is yes. And you just tack it on. I can say this, I'll say mission status unknown. Right, so first we check if value is equal to 65. If this is not true, we're going to check if value is equal to 15. If this is not true, well, we'll just say mission status unknown. Right, so in this case, instead of printing nothing, when we just use the if, elif statements, now because we added if, elif, and the else statement, we now have a catch-all for cases that don't exactly match with the first two. So another question that might come to mind is that, well, is this the maximum amount of conditions that I can check? No. You can actually keep using the elif statement indefinitely. I can say elif value is equal to 8. I don't know, we'll say mission in danger. I can say elif value is equal to 5. I'll print get to extraction zone. Right? In theory, I can have as many elifs as I'd like to. And if I run this code, now because the fourth case, which is value, if value is equal to 5 is tested, since this is true, it's going to print this statement. But the thing that has to be mentioned is that first it checks each case above. So first it's going to check if value is equal to 65, then it checks if value is equal to 15, then it checks if value is equal to 8, then it checks if value is equal to 5. The thing to keep in mind is that it's going to check in that order. Right? If you want it to check for 5 before it checks for 8, well, you have to move that up. It has to be moved up here. Right? If the order counts on how you're checking for the status of a variable, you need to specify that. So, in the combination of these conditional statements, the if, elif, and else, well, if and elif more specifically, we are only checking for one condition. That is not always going to be the case. Sometimes we need to check for 2 conditions at the same time. So what I'll do here is I'll create some variable and I'll give it the keyword none. Now, for those that have programmed in C and C++, none is essentially equivalent to null or null pointer. Right? This means that nothing's happening. It's void. Nothing's there. It's not valid. So what I'll do is I'll make an if statement and I'll say if value is equal to 5 or none is not equal to none, I will print, I don't know, I like pancakes. Okay, so what's happening here is I'm going to check if value is equal to 5 or none is not equal to the value none. Actually, I'll just call this null. So let's repeat that again. So here I'm checking if value is equal to 5 or null is not equal to none. So the idea here is that because I'm using the or logical operator, one or the other of both of them or both need to be true. Okay? So either value equals 5 needs to be true, or null not equal to none needs to be true, or both can be true. If it falls in one of those 3 cases, the if statement will be executed. The code inside of the if statement will be executed and we will print I like pancakes. Now let's look at the AND statement. So if value is equal to 5 and null is equal to none, I will print I like waffles. Wait, that's not a string. I think that's how you spell waffles. We'll go with it. Right? But here, and is different than or. Because what and means is that if for this to be executed, both of these statements here need to be true. So for me to print this statement that I like waffles, value needs to be equal to 5 as well as null needs to be equal to none. Okay, here one or the other or both can be true for this to be executed, but here both of them need to be true for this to execute. Why don't we run the code? So in theory, because value is equal to 5, this is true, but this is not true. Well, at least one of these statements is true, so this will be executed. However, here, well, this is still true. What about this statement? Well, null is equal to none. So both of these statements are true. And since both of these statements are true, this print statement will be executed. Excellent. Just as we thought. And this concludes our video on conditional statements. Thanks for watching.